Jamie here to Cryptokoala. Now today, guys, I'm talking with Andy. He's another YouTuber, another Aussie YouTuber, and he has a YouTube channel called ICOReview. Now he's a great guy. I've been talking to him recently, and we're just going to talk about a few coins today, guys. A couple of ICOs, and we're going to talk about a coin that's been through its ICO stage. Now, Andy, good to see you, mate. So, yeah, mate, what have you got for us today?
Jamie, I'm glad we could finally make this happen. This is an awesome opportunity, and I really feel like we need to make this happen with a lot of other up and coming crypto YouTubers. But for now, really happy to be here, man. Thank you.
Yeah, so, no worries, man. Great to be here.
So, right, while we were off air, and let's play it loose. Let's try and chill. While we were off air, we started, throwing a lot of ICOs back and forth, trying to figure out what's about. And I brought up this one here for you because honestly, I think they need more attention. They're an up and coming, and when I say up and coming, I mean they're only just touching on. Oh, I'm not sure I can even say. They're coming up to pre-sale is what I'll say, but I will add if you join the Telegram, you might get a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, okay, that sounds interesting.
They've got a good way of trying to up the hype in a very, very discreet manner. They've done that very well, but it bugs me because I want to put things out there, but they've got me on a leash at this point, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're only giving you snippets at a time.
Exactly that, man. Exactly that. Back to the point, however, up and coming crowd sale type ICO. So you're of course familiar with, say, Stop Me when you hear one you know about. So Crowdcube, GoFundMe, Kickstarter.
Oh yeah, GoFundMe. Yeah, see, like that's getting quite common in Australia now.
Yeah, exactly that. I think this week or last week, I've had at least 2 promoted adverts on my Facebook, or maybe they were just shared, but either way, they're starting to penetrate the social media, even if it's just for little things like belts or wallets with a particular twist, somebody trying to get their artisanal product out there. The Kickstarters and the coin cubes are quite popular. But another thing that we mentioned earlier off camera was I was involved in the fitness industry, right? And one thing that's really common in the athlete world right now are competitive bodybuilders using Kickstarter when they've injured themselves, or GoFundMe, more to the point. I've got an acquaintance that uses, she unfortunately stuffed the back, in a bodybuilding activity, and is using that actually to fund the surgery, which is it's a fantastic application, really. And to be perfectly fair, it wasn't entirely her fault. Did you know, however, that these platforms typically take about 5% of the funds raised from each campaign?
No, I didn't. I knew recently there was a thing on Current Affair where you had these people in these shopping centres, and they used to go and try and get people to join these charities and these crowd funds. And he ended up taking a huge amount of money, something up to 80-90%. Yeah. So yeah, there was a middleman involved, and I think this would be the case here, Andy. So yeah, tell us more about that, mate.
I like that you dropped the word middleman, Jamie, because that's what's fantastic about what's happening in the crypto space at the moment is, by decentralizing absolutely everything, we're cutting all those middlemen out. RentBerry in the rent space, or these guys in the crowdfunding space. So what they're proposing is that by entering the ICO space and funding the whole project through the release of a token, they're proposing that they're able to do a crowdfunding platform without any fees. So I've been using this example, and it's a bad example, but it's always the first thing that comes into mind. Little Timmy's got cancer, which is a terrible way to start.
Yeah, it's a good example, yeah.
And it's worse because then the gallows humor kicks in and you laugh. But, so we've got little Timmy, right? So let's say cancer treatment or raising funds for, say, a nominated charity, you get $100,000. Now, Kickstarter, Crowdcube, etc., going through those processes, minus 5%, you get $95,000. So that's still quite a lot of money, yeah. But what could that other $5,000 achieve is my question. So sure, another $5,000 mightn't necessarily go to add more into a cancer treatment, but then you think about little Timmy in the children's ward. How many PlayStations and TVs can you get for the kids in the children's ward? It's not necessarily treating the cancer, but it is increasing quality of life. So that 5%, especially in the scope of $100,000, adds up. And that really is the message for me here with a zero fee crowdfunding platform, is you can do some serious good with it. And I think there's some legitimate application.
Oh, for sure. It sounds like ethical. There's a lot of, but to use blockchain, I guess it's like the blockchain version of crowdfunding for, say, charities. It's a really good idea because, yeah, it does tackle that problem where you've got the middleman, and to be able to give all that money to a charity. So little Timmy gets 100%, or say if Acorn do it on behalf of another charity, or they raise money for another charity, 100% of that can be, and that's the beauty of it, of blockchain technology. It's decentralized, it gets rid of that middleman. So all that money can go to, say, little Timmy or anyone else for that matter. So yeah, it sounds like a really good idea, Andy.
And the other side of the equation that I didn't necessarily think about right away, dude, is borders. So there's a hell of a lot of legislation out there that might limit one from funding a crowdfunding activity from, say, Africa, or more to the point, in Africa. Some countries don't have access to CoinCube or Kickstarter, etc. Whereas because of the slightly grey nature of the blockchain right now, it means that there are other countries that, fair enough, mightn't necessarily be able to participate in ICOs. We're all aware that, say, the US is banned from a lot of them, and Canada is as well now. But once the platform's actually launched, somebody in Africa can pump out a project, and people from all over the world will be able to access it a lot more freely and a lot more openly.
Oh, definitely. It's interesting with these developing countries. Now, two countries come to mind that got really bad problems with their currency, is Venezuela and Zimbabwe.
Yes.
Now, these two countries, their currency's gone to, I won't say it because I'm not going to swear, but they've got really bad problems with hyperinflation. So they're having trouble trying to get access to these crowdfunded projects, or just of any developing country in general, just to be able to gain access to something like this to help them out. Like the the Red Cross Foundation, or just something like that, a foreign charity in them countries that's helping out with humanitarian aid and stuff like that. So being able to access Acorn in, say, developing countries like Venezuela with really bad hyperinflation, or Zimbabwe with hyperinflation, and being able to access, to be able to get involved with Acorn would be really good.
Yeah. And I think that the way you've kind of explained it and expanded upon it there, I can see you doing a pretty decent interview with the team as well. I want to see that happen.
Yeah, well, maybe down the track. Yeah, I wouldn't mind talking to him because this seems like a quite interesting project. Yeah, I just hopefully they're still in ICO stage. So might be something I might need to look at, because it sounds like just more of a charitable one. Because like the smart cash caught my eye because it sounded like something that's doing really well for the community. So it sounded like it was something that was good for humanity.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about blockchain. It can do a lot of good for humanity. So I want to start getting to these charitable, or something that's going to enhance the human race, really, So this sounds like something that is doing that. It sounds like ethical. It's got good morals. So yeah, for that reason, I most probably will look into this, and hopefully I can do an interview down the track with these guys.
Well, I'm going to take that opportunity because Moritz and the Eds and the other guy, Toby on the team, I know you guys watch my stuff. So we're going to contact you and we're going to make this happen, yeah? Either contact me, contact Jamie and we'll see what we can G up. I've called you out on a YouTube video,
Yeah.
which is super cheeky.
You put him on the spot now, yeah.
We're not live though, so it's okay. Well, while we're talking about good morals and we're on that kind of that fluffy note, should we go over to Guardian?
Yeah, man. That's like another sort of, that's in the same basket really. Another thing that seems like it's going to be a good thing for public services and a good thing to help the community out, you know?
So what have you looked into on Guardian thus far before I go on a ramble?
Well, in a nutshell, Guardian is going to be a decentralized app that's going to help emergency services. It's going to help them with, it's got like a sort of mobile device, and they can immediately contact, say if something was to go terribly wrong, and there's a fire or someone needed CPR, needed a paramedic, or needed someone from the fire brigade. They have a decentralized app. So it's like a duress alarm, and they can just basically tap it on their phone or on a device, and that emergency signal will be sent out, and the appropriate emergency service will help them out. So it's something that I think is currently being in development at the moment. It's in its pre-sale stage. It seems like it's got a pretty good roadmap up together, and they've got a plan in place. But yeah, the concept is a really good concept, because what it is trying to bring blockchain technology to emergency services. So the creator of this, of Guardian, is trying to give something useful to emergency services, basically. And they have, they've got different applications, or they've got, I've lost the train of thought. I think I might just have to start from that point.
That's okay. And if you lose your train of thought, I'm happy just to jump in as well. And on that note, not just being part of emergency services, what I took particular note of with Guardian was that it's more of like an emergency network. So if you hit your duress button, it doesn't just notify, say, nearby local emergency services, but no matter where you are in the world, thanks to the blockchain, it will also send push notifications to a pre-designated list of your loved ones, of people that might care about your well-being, and hopefully we all have people that might care about our well-being. But you pre-program that list of people into the application, so that push notification goes to, much like an emergency warning system, like what we saw happening in everybody's smartphones in Japan when Korea was doing the crazy, testing. Bang, push notification pops up on the phone. Oh, damn, something's happened to Jamie, touch wood, hopefully not, but worst case scenario. So it's a great notification system. And the reason why this one popped into my head and was brought to my attention was because they've partnered up with, I mentioned to you, BEETOKEN. So imagine B&B, but now you've got this emergency system integrated into your Airbnb now. So
wow, yeah. You can understand why they partnered up, and you can see that connection there, and which is really interesting. So, mate, I only know a little bit about Airbnb. I know about Airbnb, but the BEETOKEN. Could you tell us a bit more about that, mate? Like, what is the BEETOKEN?
Yeah, right. So, moving on from Guardian, BEETOKEN. Honestly, it's probably the easiest ICO we could ever speak about. I think that they're even extremely blatant in their own branding, to be perfectly honest with you, Jamie, in that they are literally Airbnb, but just a blockchain version. That is 110% their mission. However, they are, let me rephrase, they stand to steal some of Airbnb's market share out of the gate because of the way they are integrating other disruptive or other blockchain related technologies like this. They're entering the market, and even though they've got disadvantage with the market share at the moment in terms of the B&B space or the decentralized accommodation space, they're getting a foot up with new technologies. things like this, things like, oh God, this is going to bug me now. Zero chain. So they're utilizing blockchain cloud, cloud storage. So much like your iCloud, something like that, they're using add-ons like that to keep their app fast, to keep their ERC20 tokens from clogging up blockchains further, etc. So I think that they're taking Airbnb and just taking it to the next logical evolution, if that makes sense.
I think maybe that, yeah, it sounds like they've seen the potential of what Airbnb is being pretty successful. You see them popping up all over the place in Australia. And it's only the other day, one of my family members was saying, oh, we're going down the Sunshine Coast. We're going to stay at this house. It's not a hotel, but it's like just someone's house. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, oh, Airbnb. I said, well, what's that about? Well, it's about you actually stay at someone's house, and I guess they've got to be compliant. They've got to follow regulations. But I'm guessing what these guys are doing is tapping into that. So they're trying to bring a cryptocurrency version or blockchain version of. They've recognised that sort of market, and that's something that they want to try and get a piece of that pie. So it sounds like they've got something that's got some great promise there.
And that's the thing about what BEETOKEN's doing at the moment is, I think in a traditional market, they wouldn't necessarily stand a chance in taking away much market share from Airbnb, just because of how big Airbnb has become. But they're not only integrating up and coming technologies, but they're also leveraging a great deal of hype, because blockchain's hot right now. Blockchain's the thing right now. Crypto's the space. And you watch 2018, and it's going to be the biggest redistribution of wealth that our generation has seen, for the very least. So their positioning there is extremely strategic, and it can't be by accident. It definitely can't be by accident.
Oh, definitely. They know they've got something that potentially could do really well. Like 2018, I completely agree with you, mate. The paradigm shift, it seems like it's slowly but surely it's changing, and it's just gaining momentum, more and more momentum. But yet, I think of any company, that's what gives them, they know they can't compete in a traditional sense. So they're using blockchain technology to give them that advantage. And because there's so much hype, or there's so much momentum behind it, it gives them, they know that they can compete against them, because they know they're tapping into a future market, or they know that they're tapping into something that Airbnb, unless they evolve themselves, they're trying to sort of beat them at that game, if you know what I'm saying, Andy.
I know exactly what you mean. I think as if Airbnb started off as the disruptive tech, and to make bold and outlandish claims, perhaps they've gotten a little bit too big for their britches. They have become quite large, and though I can't rightfully say I know much about the business model, I'm not in Airbnb's ear. There is something to be said for successful businesses becoming complacent. So something like this coming along, it forces evolution in the free market, if that makes sense, in terms of free market capitalism. So, I'm all for it. And just on going back to the ethical note, I'm all for it, because these guys are bringing, people like Guardian to the forefront. I had never heard of Guardian, but the hype, again, that hype train that BEETOKEN is leveraging is bringing other projects along with it. Giving other smaller and, I was about to say more deserving, but that's not the correct turn of phrase, but, highly ethical and well-intending projects that mightn't necessarily get the same attention because they are so niche, they're along for the ride now, which is fantastic. And I'm not so much Zero Chain. Zero Chain's very tech, but there is another partnership BEETOKEN has fired up recently. And I'll be honest with you, the name escapes me, but it's a very, very high moral project as well, in terms of young entrepreneurs sharing ideas and trying to change global marketplaces. While we talk, I might actually see if I can find that.
Yeah, no worries. Well, we've talked about Guardian, and we've talked about Acorn Collective, and we've
Correct.
talked about we've talked about the BEETOKEN and B. So all three of them, you link them together, and they are quite a charitable. They've got that moral, ethical sort of sense. So good that they're all in a way that there's some sort of connection there, and they're all sort of helping each other out, and they're all along for the ride. So it's good that these are coming into the space,
Mm.
and these sort of ICOs and projects are becoming more and more popular because it has that ethical, because it has that good feeling about it. It's really good to see that these projects are coming along, and they are geared for the community. That they know they've got potential. They know they're doing. They know that they got a real life application to them. So yeah, no, it's really good, man. So I guess this is the BEETOKEN, is it?
Yeah, this I'm just on BEETOKEN's Medium here, because obviously Medium being the main outlet for their news stream here. It's dare me to say this 3 times fast. Serendipia, I think it's pronounced, but that's another quite well-minded ICO. But we'll maybe talk about that in greater depth in the future, because I didn't even realize that we've already covered off on 3 ICOs, which was actually what was intended for this chat. So that flowed quite well. What I will add on to what you were saying, however, about these companies entering the crypto space with good intentions, I feel as if the nature of the blockchain as well, and the hype is maybe giving companies that wouldn't have a chance, and I think I touched on this earlier, but it's giving companies that wouldn't necessarily have a chance in the traditional market a far greater chance in terms of free market capitalism in the ICO world. Like I say this without judgment, but perhaps Acorn Collective wouldn't have been as popular, or Acorn Collective wouldn't have standed as large a chance on the traditional stock market, because it is trying to take one of the large cash flow sections of crowdfunding out of the equation. And a lot of traditional investors might turn their noses up at that. I'm not entirely sure how friendly a world, traditional stocks are for disruptive technologies. Like, what are your opinions on that?
Well, I think with ICOs, and that's the beauty of ICOs, they're so good for the crowdfunding. That's something that's proven to be really successful recently. The amount of money that can be put into a project, and if they're adopting this blockchain technology, it does give them that slight edge over traditional markets. And that's something that if they was to go toe to toe with these, like Airbnb, if BEETOKEN was to go in competition with Airbnb, you'd think, well, would investors be interested in, like traditional investors, would they be interested in it? I don't know. I think it'd be very hard unless they've got a really big marketing campaign and they've got a really big team. That's the thing. You could have a small team, long as they're decent, you've got a good plan in place, you've got a good idea, you set up an ICO, long as you've got something that is going to be practical and useful, you can set up an ICO and you can get people that will invest in it. And that's so good. And you could, a lot of that's the sad reality of it is that if you're a company and you're not getting into ICOs and you're trying to raise money to set up a company, it's very, very hard. It's very, very hard. So ICOs and this sort of is so good. That's why this modern and this new way of raising funds, this new approach is so much easier. It's so much easier to invest. The prospect back in the day to just get into shares or get into stocks, and it cost a fortune to set up an account to get into trading stocks, to invest in a company. Now it's so much easier. I can teach my mum, I can teach my next door neighbor, I can make a YouTube video on how to set up a CoinSpot account and you can learn about it. And the average person, and that's why a lot of these ICOs can tap into, more of a common more of the common man, they can access these projects. And so yeah, that's what I think, Andy. That's what I reckon. It's really good, especially these ethical projects that are able to gain access, or they're able to be funded by a lot more broader people easily.
And, you know, look at Acorn here. Even though the team has grown since I was first made aware of them, you can still fit the team on one page, you know, not even a whole page really. You know, if we printed this out, they're a small mob. And, you know, you think about maybe Silicon Valley startups when they were still happening in people's garages is probably the closest thing you can equate to this. And we both know that the time of that has mostly moved on. And as you said, it's far more accessible.
Oh yeah, like the .com boom. You'd have companies that I'll just go back, maybe I don't know, go back with Bill Gates started up. Just to start off with a small company with Microsoft, and back then, just having a small team to been trying to raise the funds, like, would have been so hard. You look at this team here, or a lot of these ICOs. It's not always the quantity, it's the quality. You can have a small team, as long as you've got a good marketer, as long as you've got a good good leadership. You've got someone who can develop front and back end applications, and with a good understanding knowledge of blockchain. And they've got someone who's got a really good idea. If you've got a good core team and you've got some good advisors there to help them out, that's got the experience, you know, you've got the makings of a successful ICO there. Oh, for sure.
And, you know, you take you want to have a look at proof in the pudding for advisors, and David Ives there, going back to talking about Acorn, we're being very tangential with their ICOs. You know, he was part of the building team for Crowdcube, you know, which has one of the biggest market shares of all the crowdfunding platforms in the world, you know, so they're the brains that these guys are picking. So yeah, I think what you're saying is right on the money, my friend.
Yeah, well, there was one guy in particular, and he was over in Guardian, and he was an advisor. Now, you have to bear with me because I just I didn't even get him out. I just can't remember his name, but that's William. I can't pronounce his name. Is it Magama? I don't want to get his name wrong. How can you read that?
William, if you ever see this video, I'm sorry. I'm not going to.
Sorry, guys. Bo, yeah, and Bo mentioned him the other day, and I've seen him on Twitter, and I've been following him on Twitter. And this guy, he knows his stuff, and he's very clever, and he does really good articles. And when I was going through Guardian, I was checking out Guardian, he instantly he stood out. He said, I know he's someone who's got experience, and I even got him on LinkedIn as well. So yeah,
I can't help myself.
Yeah, just something like that. You know, you get familiarity over time. You get familiarity with people who they've been for projects in the past, and you get familiar with them. So I'll just say, for example, look with BITCAR. Now, some of their team members have moved over from Power Ledger. And this is what got me interested in BITCAR, because it had some of the core team members moved over from Power Ledger to BITCAR. So over time, you get to see, you start to recognise the faces, especially if they're writing good articles and are doing really good publications. So yeah, this guy, William. Sorry, I can't say your surname, mate. Yeah, if you've got someone like that advising you and your team, it's really good. It's saying there's a lot of good people out there that, something to look for when investing. It's just have a good research and a good background check of their team. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is BITCAR. It's an Australian ICO, recently done a video on. But yeah, this could be something that you might be interested in, Andy, down the track. And could be something. But just going to quickly say this, guys. With all ICOs, like Andy and I, we're just a couple of Aussie guys. We like making YouTube videos. Yeah, we're not financial advisors. You guys, it's good to go out there and do your own research. Try and look at multiple YouTubers and look at multiple platforms and try and get an informed decision on when you're investing. So just put that out there, guys. Just a quick disclaimer, and just why we're in this video. So yeah, guys, make sure you do your due diligence, and you check out your research before you invest in these ICOs. So yeah, Andy, this is the BITCAR, mate. BITCAR, the ICO starts pretty soon. 18 days and 19 hours. That's what it says there. So yeah, guys, it's something that's an up and coming Australian ICO. So yeah, Andy, that's really about it, mate. We've covered quite a few ICOs today. We've had a good touch base on a good amount.
That's actually ended up being a little bit more fruitful than even what we intended. I brought BITCAR here up just for anybody that heard the name and was a little bit curious as to what it might be. So anyway, that is a bit of a touchstone for anybody that was curious about what BITCAR actually was. But I think the honourable mentions today go to Guardian and go to the Acorns Collective. But oh no, I feel like we could keep talking about ICOs forever and a day. However, I think we've actually been recording for an hour, so there's going to be a bit of editing for both of us to do.
Yeah, we've only initially meant to be doing it for about 10 minutes, and we're only meant to be doing only a few of the main ones, which is Acorn, Guardian, and then a quick mention about BEETOKEN. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, you get on a roll and you just like talking about them. Hey, it's pretty exciting, some of these ICOs.
Well, and the good thing about the amount of footage that we've just gotten is you and I will probably end up with mildly different videos as well, which means anybody watching this on my channel also has to go watch Jamie's over at Cryptokoala.
Oh yeah, that's the beauty of it. Well, hopefully, this is just a taster of what's to come. So hopefully down the track you will see videos of Guardian, and possibly you'll just see more. So the videos that the topics that we've mentioned down the track, there could be follow-ups, or I know Guardian is something that we really want to try, and I want to try and hopefully get that interview of Acorn. But yeah, Guardian is something that I guess we want to do a lot more on in the future. So yeah, what's the space, guys?
They definitely deserve the attention and the hype. Do you mind if I handle the outro?
Oh yeah, go for it, mate. Yeah, go for it.
Hell yeah. Well, that's all we have for you on this one. We have been your crypto enthusiasts, and we'll see you in our next videos.
See you later, guys. See you later, Andy. Thanks, mate.
You're welcome, mate. Take care.